This is the DIY Artist Route and You podcast, helping musicians and creative entrepreneurs navigate the uncommon path to success. I'm D. Grant Smith, syndicated host of the Appetizer radio show, audience and community building coach and mentor for musicians and entrepreneurs. I also am a speaker and feature author. Today's episode features my good friend and longtime Appetizer feature artist and indie music sensation, Jerzy Jung. Jerzy is a phenomenal songwriter out of New Jersey. What first connected me with her music was her unique and powerful lyricism. She confronts social issues with a writing style that is very mature and brilliant. She has a series of EPs out, including You Are More Than the Sum of All That You've Loved and Hello Desire. She's currently recording a project that was crowdfunded successfully with Indiegogo. Aside from music, Jerzy is also a music teacher and an actress, having appeared in Orange is the New Black. We'll talk about that in our conversation coming up in just a moment. I wanted to connect with Jerzy for this podcast because she embodies the DIY artist route, a completely self-made artist in both music and acting, as well as teaching music. She is like the rest of all of us in the constant process of learning, and she's going to share some of the things that she's learned along the way with you and I in just a moment. Her insights into the DIY artist route are perfect for you today. How do you keep up with such a rigorous schedule between working and teaching music and being a musician and being an actress? And you're one of the hardest working professionals I know. How do you keep up with yourself?
Thank you. It's hard. It's usually, I'll be super honest, usually what suffers first is my social life. But what I try to do, most of my friends are artists anyway. So I've just learned to kind of combine socializing and art. So if I have a show planned, I'll try to book other artists that are friends of mine on the same show. And then at least we have an opportunity to all kind of hang out together and catch up that night. I'll also try whenever I can to support my other friends that are playing out. Because it seems to be a common thing where a lot of us, we're just so busy gigging that we don't have that much time to see each other. But, we're all kind of in the same boat where when we get a free night, we try to support somebody that's maybe having a CD release party or something like that. So I know those are always events I can go to and sort of catch up with my friends. So that's a part of it. I kind of combine the art with my friendships. And it's fun that way because I love making art with my friends. That definitely deepens the experience. I guess I try to keep to a pretty good schedule. I'm definitely not perfect, though. Things fall through the cracks. I really am trying to get faster at kind of responding to people and answering all my emails and doing all that stuff because that seems to be what suffers. But, it's just a balance, and I keep to a pretty tight schedule. Like, I wake up every day, and I sort of type out my day in a little Word document, and I'll make a list of what I think is most important that I get done, and I'll try to slot that into different times in the day so that it's easier to get it done.
That works. I do something similar. I write down all the things I want to do on a giant dry erase board so it's in front of me.
Nice. Yeah. I think it's key. I know some people that keep trying to go, and I totally envy them, but if I don't have some kind of written thing, then I'm all over the place. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And dry erase boards are fun because you can use different colors. And so after I've completed something, I'd use I use the big red marker, and I'd put a big check mark next to it and have this feeling of accomplishment.
Good.
I want to talk a little bit about your work as an actress.
Sure.
Was so pumped when you told me that you were going to be on the season 3 of Orange is the New Black, which is my wife and I's favorite show on Netflix.
Awesome.
Tell me a little bit about what that experience was like.
It was amazing. So to be fair, it's background work that I did, so it's not like it was, you blink and you'll miss me kind of thing, but you can wind up seeing me in the cafeteria for one episode, which for me, like, it's hard to explain. Like, it's not that big of a deal, and it's never going to be, like, a credited thing, but I love to act, and I got involved in doing background stuff because I just thought it would be cool to be involved in that show in any way possible. so I do this background work, and they give me an outfit, which is cool. You know, I get a costume, so I get the same kind of prison uniform that the other women are wearing. And it's just really, it's hard to explain, but it's just neat to be in the atmosphere of a great show like that. And I think that was sort of my motivation in doing it. Like, I just wanted to be on set and experience it and see how TV is made. It's really neat to see how TV is made. Like, you know, you get to watch the people with the cameras, and you see how many people are involved behind the scenes. There's a lot of people that work super hard to make just like one little scene happen. So for me, it's neat to say that I did it, and it's also just fascinating learning what goes into making each episode of the show. I've been lucky with background work. Like, I've sort of sought out shows that I love and just wanted to be a small part of if I could. And so I did the show Girls one time. Like, you'll never see me. I was just sitting in my car. But again, and then I did an episode of Louie, which was amazing. He directed it, and so I sat as an audience member in an auditorium. And it was like one of the best days I've ever spent on a set, you know. And again, like, you'll never see me in that, but just like sitting in the auditorium and having Louis C.K. give out direction to all of us was just really badass. And I'm happy I had the experience for sure.
Well, at least it's a doorway in somehow, and it's awesome that you've got the perspective about just being a kind of a constant student no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, I think you have to be, because after a certain amount of years and like a certain amount of rejection, I kind of changed my viewpoint. Like, I had this, for a while, I had this real attitude of like, oh, pick me, like, somebody pick me, and then when you do, then my life will be fine. And, you know, so that mindset started to hurt me because it kind of took the responsibility off of me. And I was, like, entering every opportunity being like, well, maybe someone will pick me for some big opportunity, and then, you know, my whole life will change. And I'm kind of learning it doesn't quite work that way. So, like, the student mentality, I think, can serve you, that can serve you kind of well and get your mind off of, you know, I want someone in a position of power to bestow upon me, you know, my big chance. Like, now I'm kind of like, all right, what can I learn, and how can I take that into making my own art and, like, making noise myself, and then attracting attention of people that could maybe help. That's helped me more. Instead of being like, oh, I want someone from a record label to, like, swoop in. Now I'm just kind of like, all right, I want to make the best possible records I can make, and my focus is there. And hopefully when I make the best work that I can, it'll attract people that want to get on board and help me, you know, make a living at this.
Are you finding that your connection with your audience and your success rate is increasing because of the change in attitude? Instead of going, like you were saying, if some, you know, St. Patrick's Day little leprechaun will come by with his pot of gold and bestow upon me, you know, all kinds of awesomeness, then I will have made it. Instead of having that attitude, are you seeing that's really producing some strong success for you?
I think what it did for me, I mean, and like, it's so easy to feel that way. So I totally don't get down on anybody that currently is in that mindset, because I was in it for a really long time. Like, you know, this industry that we've signed up for is not an easy industry. It's often not a kind industry. And it's a really mysterious industry, because you're just like, where's my roadmap? There is none. You know, and the ambiguity of that can be really tough sometimes when you wake up and you're just like, I have this goal, but I have no idea how to get there. But I guess what it did for me is when I stopped focusing so much on I want to please people so that they will save me. It changed the way that I write, which I think has gotten me opportunities that I might not have had otherwise. Like, once I decided to stop trying so hard to please everyone, I realized I had some stuff to say that I hadn't said or hadn't let myself say. And I was able to kind of go deeper in my writing because I wasn't worried about, oh, will this be too weird of a topic for a song? Like, will this be too dark? Everyone's telling me I need to write more upbeat songs, and that I have to be, like, super pop girl, and that, nobody wants to hear feminist pop songs. So once I kind of dropped the need to please everybody because I wanted them to fix my life, it just let me relax, and it let me make work that was, like, more honest. And yeah, then I think I did start doing better. I also, as a result of changing my mindset, I found HitRecord, which was, one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me to date. I remember I joined the website HitRecord because I was at a place in my career where I just felt super frustrated. And I was tired of trying to guess what everybody wanted out of me, and I was tired of trying so hard to please people, and it was, I was a little bit bummed because I had a bunch of auditions that kind of were almost and didn't quite work out, and that can be tough, like when you get yourself excited about possibilities and none of them come through. There's a million different reasons why they might not come through, but the rejection is still hard for a human, So again, I was kind of like, forget it, I'm just going to do what feels good to me, and I'm just going to make art for fun, and that's why I joined HitRecord. And so yeah, I would, that's a super long answer to your question, but I would say definitely, changing my mindset helps a lot.
Well, will you elaborate a little bit on what HitRecord is in case there's folks that don't know what that means?
Sure. I guess the space that exists for it is it's a website, and we call it an open collaborative production company. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is kind of oversees the site as the director of the project that we do. And it really is this fantastic online community where artists from anywhere in the world post their work. So whether that be, a drawing that you've made, or some lyrics, or poetry, or a script idea, or a photograph, even like a little melody that you hum into your phone, nothing is too big or too small to upload to HitRecord. And the one thing that everybody agrees to when they join the site is that whatever they upload, they give others permission to remix, which is awesome. Like, you could upload your little melody idea, and then maybe somebody all the way over in Australia, finishes it and puts lyrics to it and plays it on the guitar, and then they post that, and then maybe people from like a bunch of different states and countries add harmonies. It's just really insanely awesome. And it's fun to remix other people's art, and it's fun to get your own remix, because it's always a surprise, other people's take on what you made and where they want to take it. I've made amazing friends through working on HitRecord, because it just seems like a lot of people I haven't even met, but there's just such a deep connection that you feel when you make art with people, and when you work with somebody else's art, it's just super personal and really beautiful.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. That's a different kind of community building, but obviously something that's really powerful. You and I have had a lot of conversations over the years, and yeah, we always tend to come back to this almost entrepreneurial way of doing things and lessons learned and all that kind of stuff. And I'm curious about, you talked a minute ago about changing your mindset, but from the place of kind of thinking about things as an entrepreneur in terms of what you do artistically, how is that mindset so important for what you do?
I feel like, I can't speak for everyone, but for me and a lot of people that I'm close to, I feel like when you make the choice that you want to be an artist, it's not, money isn't your first thing that you're thinking. It's damn it, I love to make art. I'm in love with it so deeply that I want this to be my whole life. It's tricky because a lot of times artists are not business-minded enough. Again, you got to have that balance, but I just, for me, a couple years back, I just found out way too much on the side of thinking about business, and it just sucked all of the joy out of it for me. And then, you know, I felt like I chose a career in the arts because nothing ever felt better to me than when I was younger, first starting to, like, write my first poetry or, like, make up little melodies in my head and turn them into songs. Like, that just felt amazing to me. It's the most powerful feeling I'd ever had, and I just wanted to do it always, forever. I think art does come from kind of a spiritual place. You know, it's hard to explain where it comes from. But for me, when I have that more playful mindset going on, I can make stuff much easier. And when I'm stressed too much about business, it just shuts it down, and it's much harder to create. So it's a super hard balance because I have to pay my rent. You know, I get creative with that, and I just, I am concerned with the business side, but I also try to never lose the playfulness.
So they show me the black dress, the white dress, and say take what fits, but I'm neither too messed up nor lovely, so that's not it. But they trick me into something.
The whole balance thing is, I think, is the tricky part. I know, like, I'm kind of right-brained and left-brained a little.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I'm not very creative because I think a lot about the practical, like, business, you know, whatever side of things. Like the responsible, I guess, business side or whatever takes away from the creative, artistic side is kind of one of those catch-22s. But that's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely balance that you need because I think everybody kind of knows their own sweet spot of those two things. And I think it's also useful to listen to feedback from friends or to ask friends advice because I had a number of friends in a row at a certain point be like, hey, like, you don't really promote yourself enough. Like, so, you know, I think that's helpful too because your friends will tell you if they see one side or the other sort of dominating.
Well, let's talk about, since we're on the subject of feedback and friends and connections and stuff, let's talk about crowdfunding for just a second. You and I had campaigns on Indiegogo that were occurring at just about the same time.
Yeah.
What were one or two lessons that you learned from that experience that has changed the way you think about building community?
I learned that, like, a lot of times the fear before doing something is much worse than doing it. Like, I was super scared to crowdfund because I just felt, you know, my pride got in the way, and I thought, you know, I was thinking of all the worst case scenarios that I was certain would occur if I did it, which is, you know, people will think less of me, they'll think, why can't she make enough money to fund her own thing, like, you know, or that people wouldn't think that the project was worth paying attention to or giving to. And I was totally proved wrong, you know, within hours of posting my campaign. Like, all sorts of people gave to it and offered support. And, you know, there were some people that even if it wasn't in their budget to be able to give money, they still shared, you know, on their social media pages, which is just as important because, you know, I knew that there were certain people that gave that probably found the link on one of my friends' pages when they posted it. So, you know, I had never been more happy to be proven wrong ever. And I think that's kind of what goes with being an artist too. Like, artists are sensitive and, you know, good in the sense that if you're sensitive, you can make good work. But sensitivity can backfire in that sense because you'll overthink something like that, and you'll have yourself convinced that it's going to go wrong. So there's that, that I really got down on myself and had myself convinced that my project wasn't worth people's time. And I was super wrong. And I also I learned a little bit more about why I do what I do, because the video of the crowdfunding, I think, is what freaks the most people out and what most people get stuck on for the longest. Because it is kind of hard to sit down and verbalize exactly why you make music and why people should care. And doing the project helped me learn to clarify exactly why I do make music. And that I found to be super helpful, because I had just never had to do it before. And it just felt really good to define it and to see it on paper. And it was kind of like a reminder to myself of why I chose this life, and it felt nice.
That's awesome. I think you and I talked before we were going to start the Indiegogo stuff, and I think if I remember the conversation correctly, like we were both motivated and kind of inspired by reading the same book, The Art of Asking. So I've already talked at least to my audience about the power of that book, and I don't know, like, it'd be really interesting one day to talk to Amanda Palmer, but I end up bringing up, like, and encouraging people to read. Just about every single person I sit down and talk with, I encourage them to read this book, because it was so just profoundly transformational, because I struggle with the exact same things that you did. The fear of doing something before you do it, the fear that nobody's going to care, the fear that I'm going to be seen as a mooch or a leech or somebody that can't handle my own stuff. And what reading that book did was it totally took off all of those, I guess, masks or costumes that I would think that other people would see me in, and gave me the motivation to get out there and do it.
Totally. That book is so amazing. And you realize how deeply embedded some of these fears are, but Amanda Palmer just describes the whole giving and receiving process in such a beautiful way that you can't help but want to do like a million crowdfunding campaigns. Like, it's just so, I love it. I'm totally with you. It's to a bunch of people. Because it is a beautiful thing, like when you can get past those fears. It feels really good to, then in the future it'll be a little bit easier if you ever have to ask for help again. You
mentioned something a minute ago about as an artist wanting to have a roadmap and there not being one. And I think that was one of the things that you and I really talked a lot about the last time we chatted over the phone, and kind of set up our session for right now.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, ironically enough, this podcast is titled The DIY Artist Route, and it really is about how, like, there isn't a clear-cut path for artists and for, small business entrepreneurs and people that are doing their own thing. Like, most of us read tons of articles, and we're looking for somebody to help us get from where we are to the destination we want to get to, and there's not always a clear path. The bandwagon stuff that the quote-unquote experts and gurus are telling us, well, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this, and it's like this gigantic laundry list of things that you can never actually fully do, and there's no guarantee that doing all that stuff and taking all that time is going to produce anything. So I'm curious, from your experience, just in the past, let's say the past year and a half, like, what has been the key to you being able to find the next steps forward on the path that you're on?
I mean, I'm not perfect at it now. Like, it's, definitely, again, changing my mindset helps, because when I was little growing up, like, the record deal was the dream, and that's what you wanted. Like, that's what I grew up hearing that would make it all okay. And then I kind of grew up and saw that that's not always the way you want to go. For some people it is, but it's not a guaranteed way. Like, it's no longer the one thing, and the uncertainty is there. Like, you know, I still would maybe sign with a label if I found one that was the right fit, but you know, I haven't found that yet, and so I'm just trying. I'm honestly just trying to be happy and like make as much art as I can in the ways that I want to on my terms. You know, yeah. For me, it's just been key to get out of the mentality of like somebody's going to save me. Somebody's going to do all the work. Because even if you do get a record deal, you know, you can't just stop trying. Like, that's really what's been the bottom line. I just pick my favorite stuff, things that I love the most to make me feel good. Because I think when an artist is feeling their best, you just feel on fire and excited. You know, that's when your performances are the best, and when your art's the best. I've accepted the fact that I don't have a roadmap, and that most days I have no idea what's going on. And I thought, well, if I can't have a roadmap, I can at least have joy. So that's what I have been striving for, really, like joy and like a sense of wonder. Just, you know, again, getting back to like that childlike mindset of when I first started creating stuff, and I just thought it was the most amazing feeling. You know, I just want that all the time. Trying to pay rent and also just feel joyful about what I make, and you know, and go from there. I mean, I have made unexpected income from stuff I've done on HitRecord and cover shows, and so I see it going in a good direction. Like, I see myself getting closer to supporting myself. So yeah, it's just like a day-by-day thing, and being okay with the fact that I just don't know.
That's really good. The whole, like, being okay with not knowing.
I think you have to. Like, you'll drive yourself crazy. I did for a long time. Like, you don't know. You can't know as an artist, you know, at least not when you're starting out. And that's sort of the test. Like, I was teaching songwriting for a while, and I always said to my students, I was like, you know, the real test is, with all of this ambiguity and all the disappointment, like, do you still love it, and do you still just have to do it? And I do. I totally do. So, you know, even though it's weird, like, this life that we pick is weird, we're still so lucky in so many ways, you know? Like, I'm not making very much money, but I'm making enough. You know, my needs are met. And so I think also focusing on gratitude, because we have a culture that just tells everybody, like, more, more, more. And if you're not making X amount of money, then you're less than, you know. And so I try to get out of that headspace, too.
Well, you have given me more quotes than I think. So
I'm glad, because I feel like I just, like, blabbered it.
No, this has been awesome. You are regularly a joy to talk to, which is one reason why I try so hard to maintain a pretty reasonably timed social connection with you. And I really
totally, yeah. And congrats again on your crowdfunding. That's so awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that whole thing was like every day was a new lesson in a different subject. So, you know, and a lot of it was just me learning that my attitude sucks a lot. And I know what you mean. And how I'm unfair in my mentality towards some people.
Yeah, and you're probably unfair toward yourself. Too,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I totally am, because like, would you think of yourself the way that? Would you think of a friend the way you thought of yourself? You know, like, I know I would. Like, any of my friends that did crowdfunding, I was like, yeah, you should do it. And like, when I wanted to do it, I just thought so horribly of myself. I was really like, I'm super mean to myself. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that my whole attitude about what it means to really be in a community had to change, and see that, like, that giving, like, Because for me, like I've thought that, well, you know, I'm giving people a chance to have their stuff heard, and I'm giving them this and I'm giving them that, and so, you know, that should suffice instead of, you know, doing the other things that people are asking me for. But then I'm turning around and doing the same thing. So, you know, to really be a community member, you've got to. I learned that I have to be willing to give in the ways that people are asking to give, instead of in just the ways that I feel like it.
Oh, that's so good. Please make that a quote, because that's super important. That, I think so many people, not just in crowdfunding, but like little things like gifts, you know, or like, that's such a thing, like to truly, truly give. You're right. You have to listen to what somebody else wants, like, and it might not be what you think they should have or what you think they need, but yeah.
I really do appreciate your time, and
Sure.
I mean, all this has been incredibly insightful in a variety of ways, and you opened up some doors about things that I wasn't even planning on talking about.
Cool.
But thank you so much, Jerzy.
No, thank you. Yes, thank you for bearing with my crazy schedule. I really appreciate it.
The night is still, everything moves when we're
Jerzy Jung, acclaimed songwriter, musician, actress, and fellow DIY artist. Hear more of her great music and engage with her community at jerseyjung.com. That's JEZYJUNG. The DIY Artist Route and You podcast is part of my coaching and mentoring for artists, entrepreneurs, and creatives who want to take their skills, talents, and interests and turn them into profitable careers. More information, free PDF guides, and a full archive of episodes of the DIY Artist Route and You are all available at dgrantsmith.com. Let's talk about your uncommon path. What's an area of the uncommon road that you want some clarity on and help with? Reach out to me directly at dgrantsmith.com and we'll chart your course together. Music from this episode from Timothy Palmer, a song called Tryin' from his album The Half Boy. We also heard music from Jerzy Jung's Greater Songbook. Thanks for joining me. I am D. Grant Smith for the DIY Artist Route and You podcast. Share this route with your friends via Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, email, and more. The share links are below the player. Keep carving your uncommon pathway, my friend. We will meet up again soon.